Alright, let's take a look right here at section 4.5, which is about dilations. And let's take a look at the first term, which happens to be dilation. What is it? It's when you make a figure bigger, and we use the term enlargement, or smaller, which we use the term officially as reduction. So when we talk about dilation, it could be one of the two. So how do we know whether it's an enlargement or a reduction? Well, we'll get to that in a bit. Let's take a look at our next term, the center of dilation. That is the point where you start measuring to determine how much we're going to enlarge or reduce a figure. So when we want to figure out whether we have an enlargement or a reduction, we use this term called the scale factor, which we use the variable k. And k is equal to the image length divided by the pre-image length, and that will help us find the scale factor. The scale factor is important because if the scale factor is greater than 1, then we have an enlargement. Think about it. If you take something and you multiply it by 2, then the numbers get bigger, so therefore an enlargement. If k happens to be less than 1 and greater than 0, then we have a reduction, meaning pretty much we're dealing with a fraction there at that point in time. A little side note right here I have on the screen, it says that k can be negative, and then it will be a 180-degree rotation or a reflection. Okay, so you may see that in your homework. It doesn't happen often, but if k is negative, then there will be a 180-degree rotation or a reflection. So let's take a look at this dilation right here. Now, one of the things that you need to figure out first is, well, what is the image and pre-image? Okay, so if I look at this diagram, remember that when we have the letters P, Q, R, one set of letters has the apostrophe, the other one doesn't. So if I look right here at triangle PQR, I'll hopefully know and realize that this happens to be my pre-image. And right here we have PQR prime, and that would be my image. So what do I see here? Well, hopefully it shows that PQR has gotten bigger, or the triangle has gotten bigger, or we say is an enlargement. So there was an enlargement right here. And that's once again because I have points PQR, and then I have PQR prime in red. That point C there is the center of dilation. Or the center of dilation is going to be a spot where we are going to use to enlarge, show that we have an enlarged figure or a reduced figure. One of the big things right here that does stand out out of these three bullet points is the last one. And remember that angle measures are preserved. So no matter how big or how small, how much it's been enlarged or reduced, the angle measures are preserved, that they stay the same, right? All sides get bigger or smaller, but angles do not change, is the bottom line. Let's go ahead and move on to the next part, the coordinate rule for dilations. So pretty much here what you're doing is you take any point and you are going to multiply it by the scale factor. And that's pretty much the rule here. And that'll determine whether we enlarge it or reduce each and every point. So looking at the diagram, you have P is right here at XY. And let's say XY happens to be, we'll say 2, 3. Okay? So if my scale factor and is moved away, I'll go ahead and say my scale factor is 2. What do you end up doing? You take your ordered pairs 2 and 3 and then you multiply it by 2 to each x and y. Therefore, this P prime will end up being 4, 6. And that would be P prime. It's just like that. That's simple. Let's go ahead and move down and try the extra practice. So when you look at these figures here, you've got to pay attention to where the image and pre-image is. Okay, what exactly is either or. And remember, we have the scale factor. We have our equation. Scale factor is equal to image over pre-image. Okay, so when I look at number 1, I look at the points, P, P prime, and P prime tells me that that right there is the image. So hopefully one of the first things that I see here is that we have a reduction. Okay, got smaller. Well, we have to find the scale factor. So the image happens to be the whole entire thing from the center of dilation all the way down. Okay, and then that's our pre-image. So down here we put 4. My image happens to be this amount right here, which would be 2. So we have 2 out of 4, and we have 1/2. And it makes sense because remember, if I have a reduction, k needs to be less than 1 and greater than 0. And there we have it. 1/2 is less than 1 and greater than 0. Let's take a look next at number 2. So once again, looking at the points, P and P prime, I should realize that P is our pre-image, P prime is the image. I've got right here what it looks like is that it has been enlarged. It's going longer. So my pre-image is going to be, it shows on our diagram, we have 20. My image is going to be 25. So this simplifies down to 5/4. And we have ourselves an enlargement. Right, k is greater than 1. Take 4 divided by, or 5 divided by 4. It's going to be 1.25. Next up, number 3. I'm looking at P prime, which is my image. P is my pre-image. So definitely, hopefully we see that we have an enlargement. Let's make it work out. So k is equal to image. Image is 27. My pre-image is 9. And so we end up with 3 right here. And it makes sense. K is greater than 1. And we have an enlargement. Let's go ahead and move along to number 4. It says graph the polygon and its image after a dilation with the scale. Alright, so remember, if my scale factor right here is 2, we're going to take each and every point and multiply x and y by 2. So we got -3 times 2 is -6, and 1 times 2 is 2. And there's A prime. B prime, we take -4 and -1. We multiply by 2, we got -8 and -2. And then for C prime, we take -2 and -1, multiplied by 2. We have -4, -2. And those are our points. Let's go ahead and graph everything. Let's start with A, B, and C, the pre-image. Negative 3, 1. We have A. We have negative 4, negative 1 is B, and then negative 2, negative 1 is C. So we've got this triangle right here. Let's take our image, negative 6, negative 2. We have A prime, negative 8, negative 2, B prime, and negative 4, negative 2 right here. We've got C prime. So do your best to make these the triangles straight as possible. Definitely use a ruler. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go ahead and draw a line that connects from A prime to A, and it will keep going if I draw a straight line. Let's do the same from C prime to C. And we'll go from B prime to B all the way through. And they all should end up at a point. This point right here, we'll call that the center of dilation. Right? And we've got ourselves an enlargement. All right, we can go ahead and take a look at number 5 right here. And so we're going to hopefully realize that we've got ourselves a reduction because K is 1/5. And let's take each point and multiply it by 1/5. So negative 10 times 1/5, negative 2, 0 times 1/5 is 0. We've got Q prime. Negative 5 times 1/5, negative 1, comma 0. R prime is going to be 0, comma 1. And S prime is going to be negative 1, 1. All right, so we have ourselves our reduction. So if we graph or plot our points, we should be able to see that right here. We've got P at negative 10, 0, at negative 5, 0, Q, 0, 5 up here is R, and then negative 5, 5 right here is point S. So we've got 4 sides. It looks like we have ourselves a parallelogram here. If we were to classify our figure, and if we look and plot our next points, we have P prime is negative 2, 0. Q prime is negative 1, 0. We got 0, 1 for R prime. And S prime is negative 1, 1. So you could definitely see that this parallelogram got a whole lot smaller than the original. All right. And let's move on right here to the last part. Let's see. It says find the coordinates of the image of the polygon after the dilation with scale factor K. So once again, pretty much right here, you're going to take, let's look at number 7. And in order for us to find the coordinates, you're going to multiply both x and y for each point by negative 0.25. Now, hopefully we also realize that negative 1.25 as a fraction ends up equaling negative 1/4. So you take your pick. You can multiply both by negative 0.25, use your calculator, or if we go ahead and multiply it by negative 1/4, it might be a lot easier because of the points they gave us. So Right here, we got p prime. If I multiply that in negative 8 times negative 1/4, that gets me a positive 2. Negative 4 times negative 1/4 is negative 1. We got q prime. It's pretty much 20 divided by 4, or negative 4. So we got negative 5, positive 2. R prime, 16 times negative 1/4, that is negative 4. 4 times negative 1/4 is negative 1. And then we have S prime. We've got 0 times negative 1/4, that's going to be 0. And 12 times negative 1/4, negative 3. And there we have our points. And that wraps up chapter 4. Told you it was fast. Alright, so make sure, go back. Remember how to do your rotations. We learned dilations, transformations, all those fun things that we learned in chapter 4 to get yourself ready for the test.